For at least 15 centuries, if not longer, in the church, the common belief of the church was that Mary, at the end of her life, was glorified the way her son, Jesus, was and is. But it was not officially declared doctrine by the church until 1950 by Pope Pius XII. Is there anybody old enough to remember Pope Pius XII? One hand went up. I remember Pius XII. Anyway, but so in a sense, the definition of this mystery of faith for the whole church to believe was preceded by centuries of it already being believed. It was officially then codified in a doctrine of the assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into heaven. Now, it is written very carefully because we do not know how Mary's earthly existence ended. Did she die or did she not? There is no record. You may not have thought about that. We assume, like all people, she died, but there is no record in the death register of Nazareth or wherever. There is no historical record. The Eastern churches, while we celebrate the Assumption, the Eastern churches celebrate the Dormition of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which takes a different twist. Dormition, she fell asleep. But that is the biblical way of talking about death. We fall asleep in the Lord. It's a beautiful way to put it, actually. And the doctrine from 1950 is stated, it doesn't take a stand. At the end of her earthly existence, she was assumed into heaven. However, it ended. Mary, and more importantly than that, is that Mary is the first human being after her son, who is human and divine, obviously, to enter into the fullness of salvation that God destined for the whole human race. This is the mystery that we celebrate today. And it's not just about her, because a lot of Protestants have problems with Catholic devotion to Mary. They think we take Jesus off the pedestal and put her up there. No, we're very clear on who Jesus is and who his mother is and where he comes from and what her role is in this. Mary, in Vatican II, made this very clear. It cleaned up some of the spurious kind of things that were going on. Vatican II talks about Mary in a different way. It refers to her, and she is the first disciple of her son, which is a nice way of putting it. In her humanity, she models for other disciples, that's us, how to follow Jesus. How are we supposed to do this? How do we learn how to live a life? We learn from the example of others. Well, Mary stands before the whole church as a model of discipleship. And what is that? How do you follow Jesus? Well, we don't know too much about her life, but if you look at the few references, look at the Annunciation. The angel appears, you are to be the mother of Christ. Huh? What'd you say? Like us, she does not understand what's happening in her life to her. Can you relate to that? I think we can. How many times are we in situations we don't know what to make of it? Or, in a spiritual sense, in our moments of anguish before God, God, what's going on in my life, and what am I supposed to do? Mary expresses the anxiety of not knowing what's going on. But at the end of that little dialogue, what does she say? I do not understand this. She's very honest. But let it be done to me according to your will. I don't understand what's going on in my life, but I trust you. You will lead me to where I have to go. is the essence of faith and the essence of discipleship. It is trust. Who do we trust? God. Do we trust God in the moments of our life where we don't get it? We don't understand what's going on to us, and we wish it were other than what it is. So Mary responds to that. Mary, we could go through her whole life from the scriptures. The little that we know, we kind of see her off to the side. She's not center stage, but she's there. It is very good to meditate on Mary following her son to the cross. There are many ways that you can look at her life and relate to her. She's a mother who lost a child. Is that not the worst experience to befall a family? We assume we're going to bury our parents, but not our children. Interesting to look at her through that lens. She suffers intensely in her life, not knowing what's going on the whole way through. But she's there. The trust is unshakable. That's the modeling that we to help us to negotiate the curves and the ups and the downs of our daily lives all along. When we ask Mary's intercession, when we say the Hail Mary in our prayers, novenas and other devotions to the Blessed Mother, we're not saying, well, Jesus is busy, I'm coming to you. No. We are, as we have the cult of the saints, as we ask their intercession, I need your support, I need your influence and your modeling and your prayers for me to help me to be faithful to my life and God in my life. We could all use another infusion, another dose of trust to go through all of the ups and downs of our lives every day. But at the end, then, what happens? Because ultimately, our life ends. How many times have you heard somebody say, well, nobody ever came back to tell us what's on the other side? Have you ever heard that? And these are Sunday by Sunday Catholics saying this. So I hear saying it. I kind of make a mental note. On your report card, you get an F. Where have you been your whole life? Nobody came back to tell us. Of course somebody came back to tell us. Christ himself. Do you believe in the resurrection of the body and the life of the world to come? Do we say that every Sunday? Well, what do you think that means? The end has been secured. We're not going to fall off the edge and into some black hole, and it's all over, and this has all been a waste of time. This whole life is geared towards an eternal destiny, which is glorious, and we don't want to miss it. And that is the hope that holds us together on the crazy journey of our lives. And we need the support. We need a band of cheerleaders, and Mary's at the head of the list, to keep us going on our way so that we don't give up and lose heart. And at the end, as we celebrate today the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, that is the equivalent of the resurrection ascension of Christ. But in earthly, she's not divine, Jesus is. Mary is totally human. Humanity was destined for the same thing, the same ending. This is what we celebrate today. Let us keep this in mind and ask the intercession of Mary that her devotion, trust, and confidence in the providence of God that led her through her life and led her to the glorious end may rub off on us, and that we may become more trusting, less cynical and brittle, and more open as we go through all of the craziness of life, that nothing's going to happen to us that's beyond the providence of God for our well-being, now and in the life to come. That is our hope. Let us pray that that be deepened in us on this feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary.